Hey guys, Chelsea from Attention to Details, and today in the shop we're working on this beautiful Hyundai Santa Fe. We're going to be applying a new ceramic coating for our customer. Now this is the first time that I've ever worked with this product, and this is actually the new DIY Detail, their 8-year ceramic coating. Ivan was at my shop recently and shared a ton of information and just tips on how to become more efficient. And so today we're going to actually put all of those tips to the test to see, can we make this process more efficient? As always, we're going to start off with our tires, wheels, and wheel wells, do a good foaming pre-soak, our contact wash, our chemical decon, plus a clay towel treatment. And from there, we're going to go ahead and move into our polishing step. Now, any of the products that we're using in this video, we're going to put in the video description link down below, as well as any coupon codes that we have been given from the different manufacturers. So for those of you that are interested in trying any of these products out, make sure you check the video description box down below. But for now, let's go ahead and get to work. You could see from our before shots, there wasn't a whole lot of dirt on this vehicle. The customer actually washed it prior to bringing it. So I only needed 1 capful of Incredible Suds for our foaming pre-soak. If you have a little bit more dirt, you can always pre-soak with their All Clean. Or if you want a little bit more foam or cleaning, you can always add a 2nd capful. So even though this vehicle doesn't have a lot of dirt on it, we do have quite a bit of bonded contaminants or artillery fungus. And those are those little black dots that you can see on your paint. You can see I'm just popping the tops off with my fingernail. So that way when I come in and do my clay towel treatment, I won't have to rub as aggressively with my clay towel. Whenever you're prepping for a ceramic coating, you want to make sure that your decontamination step is thorough, that you've removed any sort of bonded contaminants that would prevent the ceramic coating from properly bonding with your clear coat. DIY Detail has developed a very efficient system. You can see I'm starting this like at 6:30 at night. Within about a 45-minute window, we were able to do our wash, chemical decon, clay towel treatment, rinse and dry, and pull it into the garage. We're going to actually work on polishing it the following day. Now, as a professional detailer, I've worked on Hyundai paint before, and I know that typically they tend to be more hard paint. And what does that mean? That means it's actually more difficult to scratch the paint, but as someone who is wanting to remove scratches, it can also be a little bit more difficult to remove those swirls and scratches. You actually have to use a little bit more of an aggressive approach, either pad or polish, to remove defects from the paint. If you come in with lighter polishes, lighter pads, you're not going to see much correction. Now also, we have silver paint. Your lighter color vehicle colors are not going to show defects as easily as your darker colored vehicles. And so most customers actually see this paint as perfect. Now this paint is in actually pretty good condition, but we do have some light swirls and some defects on this paint that we still need to do some correction, but we're going to have to figure out our approach. We do have one pretty good scratch here. But when it comes to my approach, we'll play around with what that looks like because we don't necessarily need to have paint perfection before we do any sort of ceramic coating. So to get a clearer picture of our paint after inspecting, we also need to see how thick our paint is. You can see here, one of our panels is actually dangerously thin, but we also have another panel that you can tell it's actually saying it might be a respray. So there's a lot going on with this paint that we're going to kind of try to break through or talk out what my process is going to look like. So we've done our paint inspection with our swirl finder light just to kind of get a broad picture of what's going on with this paint. Not in terrible condition. Hyundai paint typically tends to be on the harder side. For harder paint like this, we definitely probably want to be at least a minimum of a yellow foam pad. We're going to actually test out the DIY Detail, their gold standard on this vehicle, see if that can give us a little bit of correction. We really don't need to do that much. The paint is in pretty decent condition. The other thing that we did is do a paint thickness gauge reading using our NEX PTG paint thickness gauge. If you're wanting to get more into paint correction, this is definitely a tool that you want to have on hand. Because even if I were to say this is hard paint, I could kind of go really guns blazing with, a more aggressive pad, more aggressive medium polish to do correction. you're not going to have a more refined look at what's going on with the paint. The swirl finder lights help you kind of see the big picture, but this really helps you fine tune what you can do or what you should do as far as your approach. Majority of this vehicle, you could see we were in the like 3.6, 3.8. This panel actually right here suspiciously looked like it might have been a respray or just a heavier spray for some reason. Might have been from the factory, might have been in an accident, you never really know. But this panel here, actually we were like 2.6, and you could see that it actually showed on the reading paint is too thin. So we need to be very careful with this panel here because that 2.6 is actually combined. It's not just your clear. So when you start getting to the low 3 mils, you know you're dangerously thin, because even if you were to divide your base, your color, and your clear into thirds, 1 mil, 1 mil, 1 mil, you really don't have that much territory when you start getting below 3 mils that I would be like, let's not. But I want to do one quick zip, more than anything, just to remove whatever protection is on here. Just make sure it's properly prepped. But we're not going to really be focusing on a whole lot of paint correction with this package, more than anything, just proper prep. So we'll do our test spot, see where we land. If that is the product that we want to do, and more than likely it will be a good product for us because I've been using it lately for majority of the vehicles and it has been perfect. We're going to just basically polish the entire vehicle. We're going to use one pad with our pad washer. I have found that these pads hold up extremely well to a pad washer. Some other pads that I'll use, they might actually get torn or tear from the pad washer, but these ones, they were designed to be used with a pad washer. I've honestly used one pad per vehicle lately because the pad washer just makes it so quick and effective to make sure that your pad stays clean and stays cool and is prepped and ready for each section. Polish, wash our pad after every pass with our pad washer, and then we will come in, do a rinseless wash to remove any of the polish residue. It's quick, it's efficient. Ivan taught me this trick, and honestly, it has helped me speed through paint correction so much faster when you do it this way. So we're gonna go ahead and get our polish done. I have a 2-hour timer set for polishing, but I think honestly we should be able to get this done in about an hour. So let's go ahead and get this paint prepped. For a paint enhancement, I'll do anywhere from 2 to 3 passes with my polisher, and my arm speed will be a pretty good clip. I'm not going super fast, but I'm also not going super slow. This is typically the speed that I will do for a paint enhancement. If we're wanting to get more correction or have really hard paint, we might slow that arm speed down and really work the product. Since this is our test spot, we're gonna wipe off our residue now just to inspect, make sure that this is the proper product and pad that we want to use. And fortunately for us, it rarely works out this way, but the first product that we test, it's going to give us really nice results, nice correction on this paint. And then from here on out, we'll polish, then wipe off all the residue at the very end. The type of vehicles that I typically work on are your daily drivers. I don't work on a lot of luxury high-end vehicles that are show cars. I'm working on your average vehicles that mom and dad are driving around town. They're gonna get some love marks, maybe some brush marks from the automatic car wash. And a lot of times my approach is different than some other professional detailers. I don't chase paint perfection. It's not always the safest for your clear coat for the long term. And Ivan has been very influential in kind of helping me to have that understanding. I feel like it is a safe and conservative approach to modern day clear coats that are just getting thinner and thinner. So products like this are convenient because I'm gonna be able to correct, finish down properly in one step. That helps me be more efficient. You can use this product for trim. It's not going to stain it. It has very low dusting. It's just perfect for that daily driver. So what do we have here? It seems there's always a little creepy crawly jumping out at me when I do these kind of cars. Can you tell I hate bugs? But let's get back to work. This wasn't a deep scratch, it was more like paint transfer. The customer had brushed up against something and I couldn't catch my fingernail on it, so we should be able to polish it out. Even though I'm pretty close to trim pieces here, I don't have to tape off. I'm not worried about getting any of this polish on the trim because this is very trim friendly. It's not going to stain it, but just 2 quick passes. We're gonna sit on those scratches a little bit longer, closer to that 5-5-5 method that Ivan talks about. And very quickly we can remove whatever blemish is on the paint. Sometimes when polishing, the most physically demanding part isn't necessarily polishing the vehicle, it's wiping off the polish residue, especially if you're working with a product that maybe has some dusting and it leaves dust in your nooks and crannies of your door jambs along your engine bay. This is a great way to wipe off polish residue, any sort of dusting, and it just greatly decreases the amount of energy that you need to exude during the polishing step. Some polishes can be grabby or very oily or streaky, and you just find you're spending so much time removing the polish residue alone. And so doing a rinseless wash to remove polish residue is my favorite way to work. How much time is left on my timer?
You have 54 minutes left on your 2-hour timer.
We got that done super fast. That was 1 hour and 5 minutes for us to polish everything, to do the rinseless wash, to get all the polish residue off. It's a super fast, efficient way. I was using 1 pad, even had to stop every panel to use the pad washer. It takes maybe 20 seconds, maybe extra. So maybe add 5 minutes extra for just washing the pad. But Ivan has developed a really efficient system for those that are wanting to be more profitable for ceramic coatings. This was a newish vehicle and the paint was in pretty good condition, but I wasn't chasing paint perfection. We had some panels that were thin, obviously, but even if we had had kind of a standard 3.5, the majority of vehicles that you see, daily drivers, they really don't need to be dialed into paint perfection. Customers not going to maintain that. Oftentimes what you really need to focus on is proper prep, and that includes removing any sort of bonded contaminants, making sure there's no protection whatsoever, no polish residue, no polish oils. That's the proper prep step that most dealerships even don't do. They will just kind of wash it and ceramic coat it. There could be water spots, there could be artillery fungus, there could be rail dust on the vehicle that you've now locked those contaminants in with the ceramic coating and you've not corrected them. We've corrected all of the issues, all of the defects on the paint. Really hoping that the ceramic coating can give us that wow factor for the silver paint, because we've got really nice gloss and shine right now. So let's go ahead and do our panel prep wipe, and then we'll get ready to apply our ceramic coating. And this one I'm really excited to test out. I worked with the 5-year coating from DIY Detail, and this is the 8-year coating. This is actually the most chemically resistant product that they carry, but it's actually supposed to be a touch easier to apply than the 5-year, and the 5-year was pretty easy. So I'm really excited to test it out and let you guys know my thoughts. So let's go ahead and get set up. So for those of you wondering, does a panel prep wipe actually work? Even after we did our rinseless wash, you can see we have some polish residue left behind. This side here, we've done our panel prep wipe. And over here, you can just see we've got a little bit of residue on the surface. That this is just a good visual demonstration of what is on your paint after polishing. Just gonna put that down. So we've got our panel prep wipe applied. Just gonna work this in. These actually typically make for really good glass cleaners. Most alcohol is going to be. Just gonna kind of work this in, flip to our dry side. Just give it a light touch. Now we've removed all of that polish residue, and we've got a perfectly prepped surface. So you can see it is 90 degrees outside right now. Inside the garage, we are 74 degrees with 55% humidity. Now with this 8-year coating, they say you have anywhere from 2 to 5 minute flash time before you need to come in and level the coating. And what Ivan and Nick said is that actually if you find that it's kind of a little gummy, feels more of like a liquid base when you are leveling the product, you actually want to let it sit longer because it should be super easy for wipe off. If you feel a little bit of that resistance or gumminess from the product, give it a little bit more time. So let it sit on there 1 or 2 more minutes. So we're gonna play around with that window. How is this product different than the other ceramic coatings that DIY Detail offers? Well, here's just the basic premise of these products. If you are looking for maximum gloss out of their ceramic coatings, then you are going to want to choose the 5-year ceramic coating. Out of all of their products, this is the one that's going to give you the most amount of gloss. All 3 are going to give you gloss and shine, but this is going to give you the glossiest look out of all of their coatings. Their 3-year coating is their graphene ceramic coating, and that actually is going to be their slickest coating, as well as give you the greatest reduced risk of water spotting issues. Just by the nature of graphene giving you a taller bead, it will help reduce that risk of water spots. Now this 8-year here, this is actually their most chemically resistant ceramic coating, or most durable, let's say that. Now, any of these products here, potentially, Nick and Ivan would say could be a lifetime coating. It's based on how you maintain it. But they also said on the flip side of that, that you could take any one of these products and kill it in 30 minutes or less with improper maintenance. So really, it's all about how you maintain your ceramic coating if you want to get the most out of it. Oftentimes when companies are coming up with these 3-year, 5-year, 8-year durability claims, it's going through kind of a lab recreation to see how many washes a vehicle could be put through or exposed to before it starts to lose some of its hydrophobic or capabilities or properties that they have. But realistically, if you use proper soaps and drying aids and do proper maintenance on ceramic coatings, majority of companies will actually tell you that you could see almost a lifetime out of that ceramic coating. But let's be realistic, majority of vehicles, we're not keeping, beyond that 5 to 6 year range. Majority of my customers nowadays, it's actually more profitable for them to trade in a vehicle every few years versus to keep it for 10, 12 years. But for those of you that are looking for the most durable product, this is the product that we're going to apply. You'll notice that after about 30 minutes to an hour, the slickness will really go up a notch. And at that hour mark, the vehicle is actually safe to be released out into the environment or the elements. What does that mean for you as an enthusiast? That means that you can drive your vehicle around town, not worry about if it rains, the vehicle getting wet. It is a 1 hour minimum cure time. Realistically, if you're nervous about that, they do say optimum would be probably 8 hours. But Ivan, when we worked together and did a BMW, he said you could technically have the vehicle outdoors after an hour. If it gets rained on, it's not going to hurt the ceramic coating. A lot of ceramic coating manufacturers will tell you 24 hours, which for me as a professional detailer, when I am working on a customer's vehicle and I'm doing a ceramic coating, if you tell me that after I've applied the ceramic coating, I have to wait 24 hours before the vehicle can be released or exposed out into the elements, that means that I'm down a day. That means that I'm not able to be as profitable and my customer is going to be inconvenienced without a vehicle for another day. But if we have this short cure time, that means that I can be more profitable. I can get more vehicles in here. I don't have to deal with just a vehicle sitting for storage basically at my shop. And that means that the customer can get their vehicle back and get on with their life, go get groceries, go get their kids, just go back to everyday living. I'm really excited. Let's go ahead and test this out. So we've got our gloves on. We've got our applicator. These actually can be washed after using to remove the coating and you can reuse them. But that's totally up to your discretion. So we're going to prime our applicator with about 10 drops. We're going to go a little bit heavier for that initial prime. I'm going to make sure we put our cap back on so that way none of the coating sets up. Ivan actually says that he likes to kind of do a perimeter and then come in and do semicircles. A lot of coating manufacturers will tell you do a cross hatch up and down, side to side for even application. Ivan actually recommends doing semicircles like this because it will help prevent high spots, because each time you are starting and stopping a row or a line, you run the risk of high spots. So for those of you that maybe you're running into that problem, try this technique out, see if that maybe helps. So it's kind of hard to see on a silver vehicle. That's why we actually turned some of our lights off. but it's pretty wet looking right now. The coating does come out pretty quickly out of the bottle. I think they are going to be changing their orifices in the future. So it is a little bit harder to see it, so we're just being very thorough with our application. I can actually see it setting up a little bit better from this angle with indirect lighting, so I'll bring you guys in over here in just a minute just to show you. It is rainbowing ever so slightly. But Ivan did say you want to go heavy with this product. You don't want to have a dry sponge going across the surface. Just going to kind of outline this section here. And we are moving pretty fast.
Especially when we go into time lapse.
All right, so I'll bring you guys in over here to see what I'm seeing. This is actually my softbox light. Comes in really handy with lighter colored vehicles. You can see our coating so much better. We use this to inspect for high spots. You can see that coating setting up really well. I would imagine on a different colored vehicle, you'd be able to see this pretty well because we do have a good bit of rainbowing going on. But again, just because of the color of the vehicle, it's kind of hard to see. A low GSM towel for the initial leveling, and then a plush microfiber for your second level. I can feel that once you kind of get through that transfer solution, but that initial towel, you might feel a little bit of grabbiness, but it's really, when I say grabby, it's really not. You just feel a little bit of that. It's not gummy. But then that second towel, it is smooth. I can feel a little bit of that slickness already there. I'm excited to see what the slickness looks like in about 30 minutes to an hour. But you can tell that you're removing something. You shouldn't be fighting it though, but it's really not taxing whatsoever. Right here, I see a little.
So keep in mind as we continue working with this coating, this is technically a pro grade DIY coating. We let this sit on there for 2 to 3 minutes. This is a larger panel, but this is my first time working with this product, and we're going to kind of play with those variables to kind of push them to the limits and see, does that make it more difficult or not? So if you want to learn what not to do, keep watching.
And on a silver car, it can be a little bit hard to see those high spots sometimes, or if there's any sort of streaking, but if you've done it enough times, you know kind of what to look for. It'll almost have like a little bit of a darker appearance, like the direction of the applicator. But our coating is applied. We removed any high spots, and that was pretty easy. So what we're gonna actually do is keep moving around this vehicle. We just did this one panel here just to kind of get a gauge of what the rest of the vehicle is going to be like.
So the next panel we're going to move on to is obviously going to be the roof, and majority of this roof is actually a sunroof. But this is just giving you a great visual cue of what the coating looks like as it is starting to flash off. Now, Ivan had told me that it has a flash time of anywhere from 2 to 5 minutes, and that a lot of that is going to be dependent upon the temperature and the humidity levels that you have. Higher humidity levels, you're going to have a shorter flash time. I was at around 55% humidity in the garage, and in my mind, that's not super humid, but it is humid enough that I wasn't necessarily taking that into consideration. I let this coating sit on there for 5 minutes, and you can see I'm definitely struggling with some high spots that already were at the point where I had to be a little bit more aggressive to massage them out. And so as you're learning with ceramic coatings, especially if this is your first time or you're working with more of a pro grade coating, these are just great things to learn and to be aware of as you're working with a coating, that when you get to this point, if you're starting to have to really fight to get that coating, maybe it's evaporated too long, you've let it sit on there for too long, back off with that flash time.
So on this roof, because we let the coating sit on there for too long, we actually have some pretty set in high spots. So we're just gonna
massage fresh product in. And it's not just like a quick, you know, wipe over. You want to just massage it, work it in. It's going to kind of help dissolve some of the high spots that are there. We're just going to put this down, grab our plush, and just give it a quick wipe. And that removes any stubborn high spots. But because of that experience, what we're going to do is just shorten the amount of time that we spend with application. And honestly, I'm glad that we can kind of work this out so early in the detail and on this type of surface that it avoids having to fight this coating or go back over majority of it. Because we had worked with just one section on the hood, we didn't deal with that, but I think I bit off a little bit more than I could chew in that 5-minute segment on such a large territory. So what I think we're gonna do is just maybe shorten some of our expectations with it as far as work time. We'll do probably the whole front grille, the whole back end, so that way we're not working too far ahead of ourselves, and that will just make the experience a little bit more user-friendly. So sometimes I edit this stuff out for you guys. I'm not gonna do that with this video. And I'll be honest with you guys, I haven't got a handle on this one yet. I'm seeing that it doesn't like glass, at least not in that 5-minute approach. It is getting a little bit warmer in here, so I actually turned the AC down even more. It's about 64% humidity. That could be affecting it, but realistically, I even said that this has kind of a threshold of 50 to 90, but it's quite possible just because of the time it took for me to level. It sat on there for too long, and on glass, it is just being a little bit persnickety. I'm having to really massage out some streaking. Kind of wishing I hadn't, because as you can see, I'm not a female who glistens. I sweat, and I'm sweating right now. But we'll work through it, because I want to get this whole vehicle coated in this product. So we're gonna figure it out. Quitting is not an option. We're gonna play around with shortening that flash time window just for a little bit more easier application. Because by the time I am done with leveling all of these little intricate areas, it will probably be close to 5 minutes that these have sat on there. So that's why we're just kind of working smaller pieces at a time.
Anytime you're working with a ceramic coating for the first time, it is going to be a learning curve and a learning experience, as I'm finding with this coating. I'm not going to give up though. We lowered the temperature in the garage to try to pull out some of the humidity and shorten our work time.
See how my towel's getting a little bunchy because it's getting a little grabby.
When I had reached out to Ivan for instructions for application, he had said to let it sit on there for at least 5 minutes. And so that's why I was kind of really insisting on letting it sit on there as long as possible. But the more I'm working with this product, the more I'm realizing that so much of that is humidity and temperature dependent, and it can be closer to 1 or 2 minutes. And if you're working outside with this product, you might even just apply one panel at a time and then level instead of trying to let it sit on there 2 to 5 minutes. You're definitely going to create more work for yourself. Because I couldn't see this coating very well on this color car, it was making it really difficult to see how much had evaporated off. And I think that was some of the biggest issue, was the color of the vehicle. If this had been a black vehicle or blue vehicle, I think we would have had a completely different work experience. But don't take that 5 minutes as literally as I was.
Respect for high spots. Much better. Not seeing any, knock on wood. So, one intricate area, done. Let's go do our trunk. So personally, here's just a little bit of my user experience so far. I'm not a fan of these applicators because they are prone to want to slip out of your hand. The microfibers, I do not run that risk. It's kind of hard. Yeah, if you're gonna do semicircles, but you can see like my hand wants to, I just don't feel like I have very good control or accuracy of applying the product. I mean, if the biggest issue I have
with a product is the applicator, we're doing all right. But I do find that there is a little bit of a learning curve with this. It is a good product on trim, porous trim surfaces. You can definitely tell where it has been applied and hasn't been applied. See, it is already rainbowing. So since that is my normal telltale sign to level, we're just going to come in and start leveling. Rainbowing normally tells you that the product has flashed off and it's ready to level. I think it's not as prone to high spotting or streaking when we just kind of stick to that window. So maybe 1 or 2 minutes in this environment is easier. I know Ivan could come on here or Nick could come on here and definitely correct, but in this moment, it's what's working. And I think they would say, go with your gut, Chelsea. Don't doubt yourself. I've done enough ceramic coatings to know that if it's pretty much evaporated and you're having difficulty with streaking, shorten that flash time window, because you don't want it dried on there. You don't. So 5 minutes, too long in this environment, creating problems for leveling. So we're going to shorten that. We did about 2 minutes or so, and it's much easier to level. Looking good up here. All of our piano trim pieces look good. We didn't let that product sit on there and dry. Much better for leveling. So, roof, hood, front end, trunk, done. Hard parts, done. Now we can work on our sides. We're gonna do probably 2 panels at a time before we come in and level, and just work 2 sections, call it a day. The prep process was a lot easier, a lot faster. The application process, first time using it, a little bit more involved, but that's a learning curve. That's any brand new product. The more you work with it, the more you become familiar with your climate, your environment, the vehicles, just the different nuances with any ceramic coatings. I've worked with dozens, over dozens of different ceramic coatings. I will say, from what I've experienced, your higher year durability products are going to be your more tenacious, maybe more physically involved products to apply and remove. And that's just the nature of the products. Higher solids content, more durable product. So here's our uncoated trim, and here's our coated trim. You can see it definitely does restore the black finish to it.
For the rest of our sides, we worked 2 panels at a time. That gave us more than enough time to coat everything, come in and remove, and we weren't having to battle the coating like we had with our previous panels. Now we're going to pull it out into the sunlight and inspect for high spots. And I've got to be honest with you, I'm kind of holding my breath because of the way things have gone with this vehicle. So fingers crossed, it looks fine. So let's go ahead and take a closer look.
Front end looks good. I don't see any high spots there. Comment if you see any high spots. Our trim looks nice. Oh, I missed one little spot right there. You can actually see where you missed it.
And as much as I battled this sunroof, it looks like we still have some high spots that we need to take care of.
So what I ended up doing to remove any of the streaking or high spots that we had on our piano trim pieces and on our glass was I actually took a microfiber, I spritzed some water on it, and then I took a spray of the gold standard, kind of worked it in just to kind of water it down a little bit so it wasn't as abrasive, and then just did a quick hand polish And I actually want to kind of test our hydrophobics to see if by doing that we potentially remove the coating, and it doesn't look like we did. We've got really nice tight little micro beads. So even doing a quick kind of hand polish like that, we didn't remove the coating, but we were able to remove whatever high spots had kind of set in when we were trying to figure out our flash times. So we only had that issue up here on the roof because, again, that was where we were kind of working with larger sections. So learn from my mistakes. Don't let it go quite this long. Maybe shorten that window, you know, just work maybe one side and then level, then do the other side instead of trying to do an entire section like this. But that's why we learn from our mistakes. It's called trial and error for a reason.
For the ultimate combination that you could put on your vehicle, DIY Detail recommends that you apply the 8-year ceramic coating first as your base. That's going to give you the easier maintenance, the durability, the chemical resistance, almost self-cleaning properties. And then 2 hours later, apply their 3-year graphene coating. And that's going to give you extremely slick paint, help reduce the risk of water spots. That's the ultimate combination that you could apply to your vehicle. But even though we only have one layer with the 8-year ceramic coating, we've definitely increased gloss and shine and put durable protection on for this customer. About an hour after application, the paint was extremely slick, and although we didn't have the easiest experience, it was definitely worth all the hard work. And here's just a quick peek at what you can expect from the hydrophobics. This was actually extremely impressive. I cannot wait to do a maintenance wash on this vehicle to see what our hydrophobics look like. Make sure you guys subscribe and stay tuned for that future video.
All in all, really happy with how everything turned out. Once we dialed in that flash time, about 1 to 2 minutes, it was a lot more user friendly, and we were able to just kind of breeze through everything. Every single product that I've used from DIY Detail honestly has been a home run. They are stellar products. Thank you guys for watching. If you have any questions about this product, any of the products from DIY Detail, about my experience, let me know in the comments section down below. But good Lord, is it hot. I'm headed to the pool with my kids. We'll see you guys in the next detail. Have a great day. Good God, is it hot.